Hi, and thanks for coming to hear all of our folks talk. I'm kind of on the fence as whether or not marijuana should be legalized or not, but some of the things we've heard today, such as marijuana cannot kill people, that's probably true. However, that's probably irrelevant because it could still be a very harmful substance and not kill people. On the other side of the coin is you can't really compare marijuana to heroin, two different substances. The best thing that I heard today was the person that said, look at the science. And I don't know if the committee has seen this summary article from the New England Journal of Medicine. I could give you a copy if you wish. It's called The Adverse Health Effects of Marijuana Use. As a physician, I pay attention, even though I'm retired, I pay attention to the New England Journal of Medicine. And on the second page of this article, it lists a large number of adverse effects that appear to be scientifically proven. I've not looked at every reference, I must admit, but these effects seem to be proven negative effects of the drug, particularly among people who use the drug in adolescence or young adulthood. Such things as impaired short-term memory, impaired motor coordination, altered judgment, in high doses, paranoia and psychosis, addiction in about 10% of users, altered brain development, we've heard about that, poor educational outcome, cognitive impairment with lower IQ, diminished life satisfaction, symptoms of chronic bronchitis, and increased risk of chronic psychosis disorders if you are so predisposed. So I ask the panel and the Senate and the legislators to look at the science because, as somebody said, this is a drug that's not been studied well because it's been classified as a very addictive drug for decades. And so scientists have not had the opportunity to study this drug, and it's only in recent years that I've been seeing evidence come through about the science of marijuana. So we're in our infancy about studying this drug. There are some negative side effects from it for sure. So I ask you to go slow until the science is further developed.
Thank you.
Bob Hemmer, and Keith Rowe is on deck.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Bob Hemmer. I am a child psychologist. I practice in Bennington County. I live in Shaftesbury. And
we're having a little trouble with our timer, so.
Oh, okay.
You're all free right now.
Keep going.
And I certainly want to echo Dr. Dundas and Dr. Block's concerns about the effect of marijuana on brain development, particularly in the adolescent brain and certainly also in the young adult brain. So I had to ask myself when I was thinking about coming here, why would I be in favor of legalization of marijuana? And I think that it comes down to this idea that there is an uncontrolled substance that is rampant out there.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Had a battery failure.
That's pretty rampant out there. The availability is really very high. When kids or adults get this, they have very little idea of what's in it, and there have been some bad reactions from other things that have been in it aside from the marijuana itself. I do think it will have an impact at some point as more and more states legalize it on the cartel that is doing significant cartels in Mexico and that is doing significant damage to the whole system south of our border. I also think it will allow law enforcement in some ways to focus on more dangerous drugs that have more ramification. I think that the economic benefits can be used to hopefully increase substance abuse and mental health treatment in general. But I just feel like it's kind of out there, and it feels like it's out of our control. And so when I was thinking about legalization, it's just like, what are we going to actually do? We know it's out there. A lot of people know where to get it. It's fairly easy. So what are we going to do? So I just thought I thought that was a fairly good reason to proceed forward for legalization. I want to echo my friend Sue Sweeney. It is an epidemic. It's international. We need better control. I think we need better control now. And I just think that we might as well start calling things what they are for our children. And if we're saying, well, you know, it's not that bad, well, then there better be research about it. There better be some public identification of what the effects are. And if it's legal and we're working on what that is, as the gentleman, Mr. Simpson, I believe, said, that can have an impact on your choice of whether you are choosing to do this to your body or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keith Rowe. Theo Talcott is on deck.
Thank you, Senators. Thank you, Mr. Sears. My name is Keith Rowe. I've spoken with you previously individually at many hearings and many conferences. I spoke with the Judiciary Committee, the Senate Committee recently, back in November. I'm for legalization in one way, and I'm for legalization not in another way. I have the youngest patient in the state of Vermont. There are several patients here in this room today I know of. We are advocating for legalization so we can have better access for cannabis use for medical reasons. I have a book here. It is Cannabis and Cannabinoids, Pharmacology, Toxicology, and Therapeutic Potential by Fran Gurthram and Ethan Russo. This book is done very educationally. It costs a good amount of money to done. There's also a UVM class being taught currently starting tomorrow by Dr. Dotzman and Dr. Loonsberry here in Vermont, the first in the medical state of Vermont. I'm for your legalization, and I am against it at the same time because I believe that there's not enough ways to do it here in Vermont at the moment, that you do not have testing labs, you do not have the structure built, and that is one thing that needs to continuously be built upon. And where you will finance that from, I do not know. I understand we're $40 million in debt, and that we continue to go. But for the home growers that need the legalization here, I am for it because we need to have access to our medical necessities here in the state of Vermont. We are not getting serviced by our medical community, and especially our medical marijuana program here in Vermont. 4 dispensaries is limited. Access to those dispensaries is limited. Home grows is limited, and it is not serving us. This is the youngest patient in the state of Vermont, seen by a neurologist here in Vermont, a neurologist team. Cannabis is used here in Vermont on this child and can be used on this child, which is my daughter. We would love to see access to be able to have legalization for access for the medical community here and wait and behold on your recreational down the road. If you can legalize access for us to home growers to be able to do something for us so we can have better access for medicine, I'm all for it. But the other access for the recreational, you need more testing. You need more infrastructure. You continuously need to build on that. And I know that you will and have. I've spoken with Mrs. White. I've spoken with Mr. Sears. I've mentioned it to Mr. Benning. I've had conversations with Mr. Zuckerman in the background that is running for Lieutenant Governor. I've spoken to Caius Morris here in this community. I've spoken to Mr. Doucette in this community. I've been throughout the state and show up. I'm still looking forward to seeing how you're going to get that so we can regulate and have more plant counts for us as home growers in this community so we can have better access from medical. The legalization for recreational, take your time, please. It still needs a little more work. I thank you for your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. At least one of us on this side of the table, by the way, likes your sweatshirt. Theo Talcott, Kurt White, you're on deck.
Well, thank you everybody for coming to and take our testimony. I'm grateful to be here and in support of legalization 100%. Medical marijuana should be available to all people. if you have cancer and are going through chemo and don't have access to that, you're really missing out on something to deal with your stomach and as an anti-cancer. The science has been studied by the government very carefully over the years, and it turns out that medical marijuana, it works. It's anti-cancer. It can be good for dementia and Alzheimer's because of its neuroprotective qualities, neurogenerative qualities to the brain. But that's sort of heavy chemistry and a little bit above my pay grade. I will say, as a person, as a Vermonter, I want to obey the law. I want to support the rule of law. I want to be a full citizen. Just as we've extended rights to gays and lesbians, good old pot smokers should be able to have rights. We extend the circle. I've heard talk about going slow. That's the Vermont way, and I'm down for that. But we live in a time of mass incarceration. Black Lives Matter have really brought a beautiful conversation to America about how do we need to change our ways. And we can't have our public policy borne on the backs of a perpetual underclass. Most of the people in jail are black and brown. Most of them are there for marijuana. If we get rid of the marijuana problem, we will really have taken a great step forward for racial justice in our country. And to me, that's, I think, the most pressing reason. We could probably go slow for a couple other reasons, but we need to end the prison system. Mass incarceration is a great national shame. Just a story about that I heard, this is like science as it goes, but when marijuana came into the community of Hardwick, apparently the fights stopped in the bars. So my hope is that's what happens for Vermont society at large. Maybe the people on the committee could find out if that's borne up by the facts of police records and stuff. But if that's true, that marijuana makes people a little more peaceful, less likely to drink 4 beers and get in a fight, well, that'll be good for the police officers who tend our communities. I would say to address the needs of our working class police officers who have to go out there and deal with people, it's going to make their jobs easier. The laws will be clearer for everyday people. They'll be enforcing sensible laws. And lastly, I'd say as a Christian guy, as a religious guy, there's a lot of ample evidence that cannabis is in history. The Bible has some references in Exodus to sweet canna, or sweet cane, that seem to refer to hemp. And you got Moses talking to his burning bush, and who knows what that could have been. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.